I'm here with the Ghost of Unrequited to talk about the latest record, A Pathway to the Moon, out February 7th on Prophecy Productions. It's going to be February 7th, right? You guys are not going to change the date on us again.
Yeah, I think that's the last change, thankfully.
Okay, perfect, perfect. So let's talk about this record, but let me start off with a very out of the box kind of question. So if we had to look at your very own pathway to the moon, what would that pathway be paved with?
Silver?
I've seen worse. Is the pathway to the moon, when it comes to this record, a representation of your own journey? Maybe not necessarily to the moon, but where this record was and where this record ended up being?
Yeah, I mean, you can kind of say that a little bit. A lot of the stuff that I do is intentionally kind of left up to interpretation for the listener. I do like to put a lot of myself into the records that I make, and they are pretty meaningful to me. But I don't like to kind of go too far into what it means to me because I don't want that to be the same thing for the listener. I think I like to keep the creativity in their hands a little bit.
Once the art leaves yours, it becomes ours.
Essentially, yeah.
I like that way of thinking.
Yeah.
When you look at the seven records that you've released, how much is your own personal development as an artist correlated to the overall band's personal development?
Um, Yeah, I mean, this is really all I do. This is my entire emotional and creative outlet. So inevitably, it's going to be extremely tied to my personal growth and the my growth as an artist. Um, this record is probably the biggest one just because of the difference in sound, how long it took. Uh, I'm 30 now. Like a
You're
lot of
young, man.
a lot of things have changed, and not a lot changes when it comes to like the writing of the records. It's still very much me, just kind of in my room, putting myself into a computer, basically. But I think I've improved a lot as a person, and I think I've improved a lot as an artist as a result. And I think this record is a pretty good representation of that.
Do you always look back at what you've done previously before you sit down to prepare what you're going to do next?
No, I don't think I've ever done that.
So you don't look at, okay, I've achieved this with the previous record. I'm on this sort of path, and now in order for me to continue this path and continue this growth, I have to go in this direction. Does it become a little bit more organic?
I think I usually do that kind of in retrospect. Like I'll kind of look back on previous releases and kind of see the growth there. But I think writing a record is always very just honest and it's just whatever I'm feeling at that time. Usually, like, it really is just pure creativity and whatever I want to do because, like, I do always end up with a product that I'm like, okay, how am I supposed to market something like this? This is completely all over the place. Like, it doesn't make sense. It's just for me, like, this is what I like. Um, so I don't really think about really anything while I'm writing. I think about all of that stuff kind of afterwards. I'll kind of like look back on everything and kind of see where I've come and what can I do with this and where am I going in the future. But while I'm writing, it's really just in the moment and yeah.
Throughout all of these records that you've done, these seven records that you've done, has there been a moment of self-doubt?
Yeah, it's just constant self-doubt as being an artist, right? I think.
Yeah, but considering what you've done musically with all of these albums, especially this one now, it feels to me as a listener that's coming from a place of understanding exactly what not only what you're doing, but what you want out of it.
I think I'm understanding more and more every day and every year and every record, but yeah, the self-doubt and things like that, it never really goes away. I think I believe a lot in what I'm doing more than I believe in my own ability to achieve it. So it's like I do know that what I'm doing is the right thing and I do know where I want to go with it. I need to work on believing in myself to like achieve it, I guess. It's just a tough thing. It's a weird kind of dichotomy.
Do you look for outside reassurance when you're going through the
No.
process of building an album?
No, that doesn't really mean anything to me. I do kind of show my works in progress to like really close friends and people that I'm close to just to kind of get a little bit of outside uh opinion because it is good to have. I mean, now that I'm well, not now that I'm producing everything myself. I've always produced everything myself, but now that I'm kind of like focusing a lot more on the production, especially, it's really good to get outside ears and kind of be like, what's wrong with this? Like, do you hear anything that sticks out? So on a production side, I do that, but not on a writing side or anything really.
When you look at a me personally, when I look at an album like this, it's an album that I enjoy the pathway that it gives me from the first song all the way to the last song. For you as the artist, how important is putting together a track listing, an overall album structure that makes sense?
Um, that's always pretty meticulously done, so it is obviously very important to the cohesiveness of the record and what I want the record to feel like. It's always kind of like ever since the beginning of Unrequited discography, I always like to make the record kind of like a birth to death cycle in a way. Literally on the first record, those are the two titles of the beginning and ending track, but it always is kind of that cycle on a record.
Does that give you a sense when you're putting the songs together of if this song is going to land here, I'm going to need to add this or take this away? Does that process ever happen?
Probably, yeah, I guess so. Yeah, songwriting is always kind of a blur, so it's hard to look back on exactly what I was thinking, but I'm sure lots of that is done for sure.
What part of the songwriting process do you find it most motivating, and what part of the process, if you could outsource to India, you would totally do it?
Yeah, I mean, mixing like production is always stuff that I'm like, man, the stuff really bothers me. I don't think I have a strong ear for it. Uh, Luckily now production and stuff has kind of become blurred with writing, so it's kind of a hybrid process. I used to write in a totally separate program and then I would export it all into like a more real digital audio workstation and work from there. But now it's all very tied together. I'm still a very bad mixer though, and luckily I did actually outsource the mixing kind of on this record. I did like kind of my own mix as well as I could, and then I passed it on to my live guitar player. He's actually like a hip hop producer by trade. That's what he does for a living. So he came over, we exported everything to his house. I went to his house. He kind of mixed it a little bit. So that was nice to export that process because I hate it.
He's not from India, is he?
No, no,
Ah,
he's not.
missed opportunity.
I know, right? Yeah, would have been, yeah.
It would have been perfect.
Yeah.
When you play this record back, is there a song or a moment within a song that brings some elements of PTSD to you?
Um, I don't think from a writing perspective there was. I've done records in the past where I tried to only put like negative emotion into them, and that turned out to be like a really horrible process for writing because I was really only able to work on it while I was feeling like shit. So I don't do that anymore. There 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 are a lot of like pretty heavy emotions on this record still, but I don't really feel that way looking back. I think it's still pretty fresh. The record is still pretty new that I'm just really excited about how everything turned out, I think.
One of the interesting aspects of this album for me, from a listener standpoint, is for an album that has a lot of atmosphere, that has a lot of movement sonically, you always find the right spot for the vocals, either be with clean vocals or harsh vocals. Is that an easy process for you, or is it a little bit more daunting to find the right room, and not only the right room, but the right delivery?
Oh, it was definitely daunting. I mean, this is the first record that I've done that has this kind of vocal style on it. So in the past, it's always been, I mean, just kind of wailing on a microphone and that was it. And just kind of find the right places to do some big yells and that was it. No lyrics, no anything like that. No having to fit this in and fit that in there. I've always been a big fan of like clean vocals and I do love singing and I'm still a little self-conscious about singing on a record and that's why you kind of hear these heavy vocal layers with like a ton of harmonies and my vocals are kind of lower in the mix and it's stuff like that. So it's still kind of hard for me to like show that to the world, but from a writing perspective, it was mainly just a lot of fun and very cathartic. The first song on the record is like the most intimate thing I've ever done. It's really just my vocals on a piano, and that was like horrifying to do, and it's going to be horrifying for people to hear that. But
Will that make it to a future live show?
I hope so. It would be really cool to do something like that. I think for live shows right now, we're doing a lot of like touring with bigger bands just because we don't really have the ability to like headline or anything. So we have shorter sets, so I do have to be really picky with what I'm putting on a live show, but if we ever did something like a big headliner, for sure.
I've seen you guys live. I've seen you guys in Toronto a couple of times,
That's right, yeah.
and every time that I saw you guys, I always felt like the vocal style that you took into the tracks almost became real. I know everybody says this, but it really became an instrument. It was not used in any other format, but to add layers and texture to whatever the sonic essence of the song was. On this record, even though it's a different approach, I don't think that idea changed at all. I still felt the same way.
Yeah, you're right. I still definitely want to keep that same kind of that same writing style. I think that what I did on this record is a little more conducive to like in to a live setting, just because like I did find myself doing a lot of like improv live with the vocals and stuff because I didn't remember exactly what I did on the records. So it was a lot of just kind of like guessing and just whatever I felt. And sometimes I would formulate words that weren't on the album, and sometimes I would do something different. Um, and that got a little bit stressful because I do like to be kind of prepared and know what I'm doing and everything. And I've always had side projects where it was more lyrical and it was more, you know, whatever else. And I think it was just a matter of time before I inevitably like brought that into Unrequited and changed up the vocal style that I've been doing for the past like 8 years.
Did you write the lyrics for these songs specifically with these songs in mind, or these are some pieces of poetry that maybe you had hanging around?
I had a couple pieces that were hanging around and there are actually pieces that I used in other songs for other projects that I kind of brought back. But for the most part, yeah, I was writing for the song specifically.
You know, people say that a picture paints or a picture is worth a thousand words. When I was listening to this record, I felt like the sound on this record was worth a thousand pictures.
That's fair. Yeah, I mean, like I always tried to achieve that with the previous records, especially. I mean, it's all been kind of instrumental music in a way. So it is entirely up to the listener to interpret what the albums are about. And I guess I've always really liked that about writing because I don't want I don't want the listener to feel what I'm feeling. I want them to feel their own thing. So with instrumental music, like it has to be that way. So on this record, I was a little bit like, okay, well, I am giving a little bit of direction with the concepts and the lyrics and stuff like that, but I'm still going to keep it, you know, very open and up to interpretation. And yeah.
I gotta ask you about this song because I honestly start to notice a little bit more of the details of the production of the record with Into the Starlit Beyond.
Mm.
The way the sound, I don't know if I'm sure you've had a chance to listen to that track with proper headphones.
Well,
The way the sound moves on the freaking headphones, dude, it was insane. I don't think I've ever heard anything like that in my life. Almost gives you vertigo because the sound is not balanced in terms of you getting the same on the right as you're getting on the left. It's traveling. It feels like it's going through my ear hole on one end and coming out on the other.
yeah.
How did you do that?
It's taken over your brain. Well, I mean, I did learn a lot production wise from just sitting in my room and making records over the past 7 years. And I think I made a lot of mistakes, and there are a lot of things that I did on previous records that felt kind of bland or it wasn't as engaging or you know, whatever. So I think the biggest improvement on this record was production, and it was like my knowledge on production and how to make something sound big and how to make it sound impactful. And that's really important for what I do. And as much as I put that on the back burner, I was like, oh, I'm not really a producer. Like, I'm not really going to learn how to do anything properly. I'm just going to write and make it as good as I can. I think I really tried with the production on this one, and I think it shows a lot with I did get a lot of compliments on that song, which is strange from friends and stuff like that about the
It's
production. So,
phenomenal. It's
yeah.
phenomenal because it catches you by surprise because the sound is moving
Hmm.
in a very fluid way, and it almost as it ends on one side, it picks up on the other, which really caught me off guard when I was listening to it, and it allowed me to dive a little bit deeper into that song, and then obviously into the record.
Yeah, I was very meticulous with stuff like that on this record, and that's probably why it took so long.
Well, it worked out really well. So,
Thank you.
whatever it is that you're doing well.
I
Now,
appreciate that.
thinking about the production from this record moving beyond, do you start to realize that those effects that you can have on the record allows you to then grow the band in a different way, not necessarily sonically, but in terms of how that sound is presented?
Yeah, I'm thinking about a lot more things now when I'm writing. It hasn't really changed. The way I think, the way I write hasn't really changed, but the way I am thinking about more, I'm thinking about the live set. I'm thinking about I have to play this and do the vocals. I am thinking about, how is it going to translate live? I'm thinking about obviously a lot of it is the live set because I do want to continue pursuing the live shows, and I do want to write things that I think would be cathartic in a live setting. So I'm thinking about that a whole lot. I wouldn't say that like too much has changed while I'm writing. It's still very like tunnel vision focused on that, trying to get the sound in my head onto the computer. That's really all it is. I think I'm just a lot better at it, and yeah, being a better producer has kind of opened up a lot of, I don't know, it's just opened up a lot of different like things that I never thought about while writing before. I was writing as a composer, like I could kind of write sheet music for everything that I was doing. Now I can't really do that because it's like the atmospheres and the little sounds and the little production, it's all very much a part of it. You can't really write sheet music for that stuff.
You mentioned live, so what plans do you have for 2025 now that this new record is going to be out?
Yeah, we have two tours booked across North America right now that we're working on. Well, we're not really working on them. The headliners are working on them. I don't know when they're going to be announced. There's one in the springtime, early spring, or sorry, late spring, early summer, and there should be one in the fall that we're really excited about. I guess a big thing for me would be ideally getting overseas, getting to Europe, getting to Asia, maybe South America, something like that. Right now, I just have a North American agent, so it's like since we're just starting with the whole touring thing, I'd rather kind of master, doing America and stuff first and get really good at that because it's still very new to me, and I'm tour managing on my own tour and I'm doing everything, and so it's stressful. But yeah, I just want to do it more. And my friends who come on tour with me and play all the instruments, they want to do it more. So I'm happy to provide that for them. And this is kind of what I always wanted to do growing up as a teenager, and I never really had the opportunity to do so. So I think now's the time, I guess.
Going from being the master of your domain when you're making the record to allowing outside sources to display the art that you've created, is that a difficult process for you to give it away a little bit?
I feel like it should be, but the people that I bring on tour are like my best friends since I was in high school. So I've played music with them growing up in all kinds of bands, and I trust them. I live with some of them. Like they're my best friends and basically my brothers. So it's like I have no problem trusting them with. I know they're gonna, do the songs justice and everything.
Now they just got to help you with all the hats that you have.
Yeah, which I mean it kind of they kind of do anyway. I mean, like I said, I brought it to my guitar player for the mixing and he's probably going to do that for the next record. My bass player live, he's always done basically all of my graphic design stuff. So they've kind of been involved like behind the scenes a little bit even before, which is cool.
Wow. So as you look forward, do you have any how can I put this? Are you considering the possibility of perhaps a Juno nomination for you in the future? Winning, I'm not going to go as far as winning because I honestly I feel like the people there that vote have don't have the right acquired palate.
Sure. Am I consider Sure, I'm considering it. Yeah. Definitely. I'm going to try and manifest it.
Would it be important for you?
Oh man, I've never really thought about something like that. I kind of forgot about the Junos for a little while. I
Because a
think it would be
record like this really deserves, at the very least, a
a
nomination.
nomination. That I would lose my mind if that were the case. It would be really cool, but it's not necessary. I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing regardless, right? So,
Is there any benefits besides the fact that obviously it feels good to be nominated
yeah, it
and
would
be
be
in the
cool.
conversation? But do you see any, I don't know, financial upswing by having that nomination or by being in that different spotlight?
I'm sure there would be some. It definitely wouldn't do anything bad. It would,
Oh, that's for sure.
you know, financial stuff is like, sure, it's great to be able to make more money. That's kind of always been the goal since I was a little kid too, is like I just want to do music. All I want to do is make music for a living. And if I can reach a level where I can just survive, then I'm like super happy. It's really the only level that I want to achieve is to just like sustain myself off of this. Like maybe I'm getting close to that, but we'll see. After the Juno, we'll see.
Listen, I expect you to give me a shout out if you get
Oh yeah.
nominated because I'm throwing those vibes that into the universe so that this thing can materialize itself. Considering some of the nominations over the last couple of years, this record by far deserves to be in the conversation.
I mean, I appreciate that a lot. That's a huge compliment for sure. You'll definitely get the shout out. If I win, I'll say your name on stage.
Oh, I have to
I
find like a
promise.
stream or something like that because they don't even broadcast the metal category anyway. So, but I
Oh shit.
appreciate it. Oh, if you win, dude, I'll come collecting. If you win,
Yeah. Oh
not
yeah.
not not only I expect a shout out on stage. Next time I'm in Ottawa, I need to take a picture with it.
Yeah, you could do that. You could do that. I'll give you your cut as well.
Hey, if this is what I gotta do, I'm gonna start the crusade now
Let's go.
and start getting the name of the album out there and the band so that the Junos can pay attention to you for sure.
Let's do it. It's time for the Juno promo.
Is it difficult being a Canadian metal artist in such a confined genre that is your, I don't think you even have a genre. The music
Yeah.
it has no genre attached to it.
Yeah, at this point, the genre really has just kind of like devolved into nothing. Like it did start off like I was trying to make, black gaze, post-black metal, whatever. And with every record, like less and less and less of that was present. And now I just don't know what it is anymore. I don't know
By
how
the
much.
way, it fits perfectly into Prophecy Productions because if
Yeah,
there's a label that doesn't really restrict their artists and allows them to be as free as they want to be, it's them.
yeah, no, absolutely. I agree with that. I guess I don't know how much Canada has affected it. I think like the nature and the kind of desolate vibe of, being in this area has definitely impacted the sound of the music. I have really no allegiance to Ottawa. It's not my favorite city by any means. I've just grown up here and it is what it is. It's a government town. You're in Toronto?
Yeah, I'm in
Yeah.
Toronto. But I
Okay.
know Ottawa really well. I used to go out with a girl there, so I used to travel to Ottawa all the time.
Yeah.
Funny enough, we spend more time in Hull.
I was gonna say you would know there's nothing to do around
Nothing
here.
to do there. Nothing to do.
Yeah, so that's probably why I've kind of carved out this little life for myself in my basement where I just kind of create worlds and, uh, envelop myself in them. So, but is it hard? I mean, I don't know. I've never been an American artist. It would be a lot easier if I was American to tour America because I wouldn't have to do the whole work visa process and all of that. That's the main thing that I don't like doing.
Paperwork.
Paperwork is what I don't like.
Yeah, I'm getting the vibe that that's exactly what you don't like. It's
Yeah.
paperwork.
It's not my favorite thing, but it's a necessary evil, I guess.
I agree with you on that.
Yeah.
Dude, thank you very much for taking the time. It's been a pleasure to talk to
Yeah, thanks for
you.
having
I
me.
look forward to that Juno nomination and that shutout when you win.
Let's
And
go.
I'm hoping that one of those two tours, maybe both of them, bring you back to Toronto.
As of right now, they both will.
All
So,
right.
yeah,
All right. Perfect. So when I see you at the venue, because I'm sure I'll be at the show,
for sure.
I'll buy you a drink if you
Hell
drink,
yeah.
or if you don't drink, I'll buy you a taco somewhere. Maybe it'll be on a Tuesday. We'll do some Taco Tuesdays.
I'm down for either of those things, man.
Sounds good, man. I'll be there. I'll be there to support you guys as always.
All right. Thanks a lot for having me, Pedro. I appreciate it a lot. It was
Thank
awesome.
you, man. Thank you for having the time.
Cheers. Take care, man.